Good morning. I want to begin by acknowledging the profound loss at the center of why we're here today. On January 17th, 2026, three men, Douglas Kraft, Robert Kraft, and James Puchin, traveled to Central Florida to attend a car show. They should have returned home to their families. However, instead, their loved ones are grieving an unimaginable tragedy. On behalf of the Ninth Circuit State Attorney's Office, we extend our deepest condolences to the families of Mr. Puchin and the Kraft brothers. We recognize that no legal process can undo what has been taken from them. However, we remain committed to honoring their lives through a process that is thorough, lawful, and resolute. I also want to take a moment to thank the Osceola County Sheriff's Office for their swift and professional response. On Sunday, January 17th, the Osceola County Sheriff's Office announced the arrest of 29-year-old Ahmad Bojeh in connection with the fatal shooting of three tourists here in Kissimmee. According to the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, the three men were standing outside of a short-term rental property while waiting for roadside assistance for their vehicle when they were shot and killed. Deputies responded to the scene and took Mr. Bojeh into custody. He's currently being held without bond at the Osceola County Jail. Now, a few weeks ago, there was some misinformation regarding the filing of first-degree murder charges in this case. There was information that although law enforcement filed charges of first-degree murder, that our office failed to file those charges. It's important that the media and the public through the media understand how the filing of first-degree murder charges works under Florida law. In a capital eligible case, prosecutors are not permitted to file first-degree murder charges until the case has been presented to a grand jury and an indictment is returned. That is a statutory requirement and not a policy decision. A grand jury is made up of members of the community who hear evidence presented by prosecutors and determine whether probable cause exists to formally charge the accused with a capital offense. In the period between arrest and grand jury review, the law allows prosecutors to file what are commonly referred to as holding charges. Those charges serve a specific procedural purpose. They ensure the accused remains lawfully in custody within the required timeframes while the evidence is finalized and presented to the grand jury. Holding charges are about preserving public safety as well as protecting the integrity of the prosecution, and they do not later limit our filing decisions. A grand jury has now convened in this matter, and after reviewing the evidence presented, the grand jury has returned indictments charging Ahmad Bojeh with 3 counts of first-degree murder in the death of Mr. Douglas Kraft, Mr. Robert Kraft, and Mr. James Puchin. Now that that indictment has been returned, the case will be considered by the prosecutor as to whether or not that case should be turned over to our capital case review panel. The panel was created to ensure transparency, consistency, and fairness in evaluating whether capital punishment is legally authorized and appropriate in individual cases. The panel is composed of senior leadership in this office, and their role is fact-finding. It reviews the law and the evidence in depth and makes a recommendation as to whether or not the death penalty is the appropriate resolution in any case. As part of that review, the panel considers the strength of the evidence, whether the statutory aggravating factors are present, any known mitigation, the impact on the victims' families, law enforcement's recommendation, and whether a death sentence would likely withstand appellate procedures and proportionality review. Arbitrary or impermissible factors such as race, religion, gender, or economic status play no role in this determination. If the decision is made to seek capital punishment, a formal notice of intent to seek death is filed in accordance with Florida law. That is the process. It's careful, it's structured, and it reflects the gravity of seeking the ultimate punishment under the law. There have been questions raised regarding Mr. Bojeh's competency to proceed. When competency is placed at issue, the court, not the prosecution, orders independent evaluations by qualified mental health experts. The legal question is specific: whether the accused has the present ability to understand the proceedings and assist in his defense. This is a constitutional safeguard. It is not optional, it is not political, it is required. If the court determines additional evaluation or restoration is necessary, we will respect that process fully while continuing to prepare our case for trial. Competency addresses readiness for trial. It does not determine guilt or innocence, and it does not diminish the seriousness of the charges in this case. Mental health considerations are addressed through established legal standards, not through political or public commentary. The law draws clear distinctions between competency to stand trial and criminal responsibility at the time of the offense. Those are separate legal questions governed by separate legal standards. Our responsibility is to apply the law faithfully, present the evidence, and allow the court to make the determinations required under Florida law. Public safety, due process, and justice for victims are not competing priorities. The legal system is designed to balance them. We will follow that framework carefully and deliberately. 3 men lost their lives in our community. Our commitment is to their families, to the integrity of this prosecution, and to the safety of everyone who visits us here in the Ninth Circuit. Violent crime will be met with accountability, and that accountability must be achieved lawfully and in a manner that withstands review at every level. We will not rush the process, we will not politicize it, and we will not compromise it. This office remains committed to pursuing justice thoroughly, professionally, and without distraction until this case is resolved in a court of law. Again, we extend our deepest sympathies to the families of the victims in this case. I'll take your questions. If you'd please state your name and the media outlet that you represent.
From WESH. Do you have any concerns, though, that in this situation that he could be deemed incompetent before he goes on trial, or at trial he could be found not guilty by reason of insanity and then be able to be released again?
Again, I'm not going to get into fortune telling. The process is going to play out. Our office is going to do its part to follow the law and respond appropriately to any challenges that may take place.
Mike Valenti, News 6, just to piggyback off that, he has a competency hearing April 20th. If the judge does deem him incompetent, how does your office proceed from there?
So our office will then allow the process to take place. We will continue to prepare our case for trial. It's important, again, to understand that competency and criminal responsibility are 2 separate issues. So just because someone is found incompetent doesn't mean that they won't eventually have their case taken to trial. So in the event that he is found to be incompetent, then our office will continue to prepare our case for trial. We will, of course, argue that he is, in fact, a danger to the community and he should remain in custody until such time that he is deemed competent to stand trial.
Do you have any concerns about the fact that in the report, at least, he said that he stopped taking his medication because of the fact that he couldn't afford them? And not so much concerns, but how would you guys handle that? Does that add responsibility to him, even though he might have been incompetent at the time, the fact that he stopped taking his medication?
Those are decisions to be made by mental health experts. That is not a legal decision to be made, and whatever the mental health experts report to the court, then we will deal with that as it comes.
Sabrina Majority, Channel 9, can you share where in the evaluation process he is now? Has there been 1 or 2 evaluations, and how does that play into the competency hearing that's coming up?
No, I don't have that information. I know that the hearing is scheduled for April. So before that time, there will have to be evaluations that take place. Once our office receives that evaluation, we will determine the next steps. But what will likely happen is that we will also have an evaluation done independently so that we can address any issues that there may be with the evaluation done by the defense.
Cristobal Reyes from the Orlando Sentinel. How does him not taking his medication factor into whether whether the death penalty is pursued, or does it at all?
Again, that is a process that will be determined by the capital case review panel, and that may be a consideration that they take into their process as it comes to mitigators, but I can't tell you how it will play. I'm certain that if that is the case and that's established, that it will be considered.
Has your office spoken to the families of the victims since the indictment was returned?
That meeting is scheduled to take place today.
Was the indictment yesterday?
No, it happened this morning.
This morning? If I could, switching gears a little bit to the incident we had at the Walmart in Point Siena, can you talk about where your office's involvement is in that right now? I know FPLE is investigating the shooting of the deputies, but where do you stand in that right now, and from what you've seen and what you've gotten from the deputies?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So essentially what happens is anytime there is an officer-involved critical incident, like a shooting, our office is contacted. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is contacted. They do the first investigation. Once they've completed their investigation, they turn that over to our office. We review that investigation and supplement if necessary, and then we provide a memorandum on how the case will proceed.
At this point, you guys haven't gotten...
No.
Just from seeing what you've seen in the public sphere, any impressions?
Oh, I'm not going to give impressions. Our duty is to follow the law, and we use the facts to see how they fit into the law, and we make decisions based on that. All right. Thank you all very much.